Earth had always seemed small and quiet in the vastness of the galaxy. Among countless worlds spinning in space, each with its own stories, civilizations, and achievements, Earth was barely noticed. While planets far and wide displayed advanced technology, massive cities, and interstellar fleets, humans lived their lives mostly unaware of the eyes watching, or ignoring them. From the outside, the galaxy believed Earth's people were ordinary, too primitive, too scattered, and too fragile to matter. Even the idea of Earth having a place in interstellar affairs was considered laughable. Yet life on Earth continued, quietly vibrant, full of complexity, creativity, and untapped potential. Most people on Earth were simply living day to day. Farmers tended their fields with care, teachers guided their students with dedication, and scientists pursued knowledge with endless curiosity. None of them imagined that their efforts, though small in comparison to the grand stage of the galaxy, were slowly building a legacy that would one day draw attention. There was a strange kind of magic in ordinary life, the kind that went unnoticed by those who only looked for spectacular achievements. A child reading under a dim lamp, a doctor working through the night to save lives, a musician composing a melody that touched hearts. These were the quiet signs of a civilization that was quietly extraordinary. In cities and villages across Earth, humans created, invented, and explored, often with no recognition beyond their own communities. A young engineer in a modest workshop might build a new type of energy generator that could one day power entire regions. A doctor in a small hospital could develop a method to treat diseases that previously seemed untreatable. A teacher could inspire generations of children to dream bigger than the limitations society placed on them. Every small act of persistence, creativity, or kindness was a thread in the growing tapestry of Earth's potential. Yet for the galaxy it remained invisible. Despite being ignored, humans had their own understanding of the universe. They looked at the stars and wondered what else was out there. Scientists and astronomers observed distant galaxies, recording strange phenomena, tracking planets, and trying to understand the laws of nature on a scale far beyond Earth itself. There was an innate desire to reach outward, to explore, and to grow. Yet for centuries, humanity remained largely on its own. They had no alien ambassadors to greet, no interstellar alliances to join, and no recognition of their accomplishments beyond their own planet. Many humans felt small in the grand scheme of things, but that very sense of being underestimated gave them a quiet strength. They were not yet known to the galaxy, but they were learning, experimenting, and slowly proving to themselves that they could achieve remarkable things. In the skies, satellites and telescopes were launched and humans started touching the heavens. The first rockets reached beyond the atmosphere, and humans stepped onto the moon, leaving footprints that would remain for decades. Even these monumental achievements went largely unnoticed by other civilizations. From afar, Earth was just a small blue and green dot, not worth the time of more advanced species. Still, humans celebrated each step as if it were monumental, and in truth it was. For every small victory, humanity learned and grew, laying the groundwork for a future the galaxy could not yet imagine. Among humans, there were those who sensed something more. Some felt that Earth was special in ways that others could not yet see. Visionaries, dreamers, and scientists often looked at the stars and imagined that one day, humanity would be recognized for its potential. They studied patterns in nature, in human behavior, and in the universe, always wondering what would happen if humans could prove their worth. These people often faced skepticism from their peers. Many dismissed their ideas as impossible or fanciful. Yet even in the face of doubt, they persisted, driven by the belief that Earth could matter in ways no one else yet understood. The contrast between humans' quiet progress and the galaxy's ignorance was striking. Other civilizations measured power through armies, fleets, or advanced technology, often missing the subtler signs of intelligence, creativity, and moral strength. Earth seemed empty from their distant observations, not because it lacked life, but because its value could not be measured by brute force or flashy displays. This invisible strength was humanity's secret advantage, a hidden potential that would one day turn the galaxy's skepticism into awe. Even in the midst of daily life, signs of Earth's uniqueness were everywhere. A farmer experimenting with new irrigation techniques could make crops flourish in ways that amazed local communities. Engineers creating simple but efficient machines changed lives quietly but profoundly. Children invented games, machines, and ideas that stretched the imagination. Artists painted, wrote and composed, expressing emotions and thoughts that captured the human experience in ways that transcended mere survival. The galaxy watching from afar saw none of this, yet every small act of innovation or creativity was a building block toward something far greater than humans themselves could fully imagine. There were also challenges on Earth, obstacles that often seemed insurmountable. Natural disasters, poverty, disease, and conflict threatened progress daily. Yet humans adapted, survived, and often thrived despite the odds. Every time a community rebuilt after a storm, every time a society learned from a crisis, humans demonstrated resilience that quietly distinguished them from other civilizations. Their survival was not just about strength. It was about intelligence, collaboration, and determination. These traits, invisible to distant observers, were the true measures of Earth's worth. For many humans, life continued without awareness of their potential impact on the galaxy. They dreamed of the stars, wondered about life beyond Earth, and occasionally felt the frustration of being overlooked. But even without recognition, humans continued to act with courage, creativity, and compassion. Their small victories, experiments, and discoveries accumulated, creating a foundation that would one day be impossible to ignore. By the end of this period, Earth had quietly transformed itself. While the galaxy saw an insignificant blue planet, its inhabitants had grown, learned, and proven to themselves that they could endure, innovate, and inspire. They were not yet known to the wider universe, but humanity's path was set. The seeds of greatness had been planted, nurtured by ordinary lives, ordinary struggles, and extraordinary persistence. The galaxy had ignored Earth for centuries, but this oversight was temporary. The story of humanity was only beginning, and the empty seat that the galaxy assumed would always remain empty was quietly being prepared for someone who had never been underestimated so thoroughly. And in the silent night, under the stars that had watched humanity for millennia, Earth waited, growing stronger, wiser, and ready for the moment when the galaxy would finally remember why it should never have ignored this small, vibrant world. Life on Earth was changing even if the galaxy hadn't noticed yet. Strange signals began to emerge from the planet, subtle patterns in nature and sudden discoveries that hinted at something extraordinary happening among humans. Scientists were the first to notice, though at first they didn't understand the full importance. Satellites detected unusual energy readings. Astronomers recorded movements in the stars that didn't fit any known pattern. And in laboratories, new inventions were pushing the boundaries of what people thought possible. It was as if Earth itself was quietly awakening. And some humans sensed that the world was on the brink of something far bigger than anyone had imagined. At the heart of this awakening were a small group of individuals who saw connections others missed. They were curious by nature, patient and persistent, willing to spend years studying tiny anomalies that seemed meaningless to most. A physicist in a modest research center noticed subtle changes in solar radiation that hinted at a new form of energy. An engineer in a small workshop began building machines that could harness this energy, though she wasn't sure what it could do. A young astronomer, working late nights at a local observatory, tracked irregular movements of nearby celestial bodies. Individually, these discoveries seemed small, but together they hinted at something larger. The planet itself was preparing to step out of obscurity. Despite these breakthroughs, the galaxy remained indifferent. Other civilizations continued to regard Earth as a quiet, unimportant world. Observers from distant planets assumed that whatever unusual readings humans produced were accidental, primitive, or insignificant. They had no idea that these small signals reflected not only natural phenomena, but also human ingenuity and creativity. The humans themselves often didn't realize the scale of what they were discovering or inventing. For them, it was just science, work, and curiosity. But each small step was a move toward the day when the galaxy could no longer ignore Earth. Humans were also beginning to explore space in new ways. Satellites were being launched farther than ever before. Probes were sent to the outer planets, and ambitious missions to explore the Moon and Mars were underway. Private individuals, small groups, and even entire communities were investing time, money, and ideas into reaching farther than anyone had before. There was a new spirit of collaboration and determination, a sense that if humans worked together, they could achieve the impossible. It wasn't about recognition. It was about pushing boundaries, learning, and discovering what humanity was capable of. At the same time, ordinary life on Earth mirrored these subtle awakenings. Communities were adapting to changes in climate, new technologies were improving medicine and transportation, and people were learning to cooperate across cultures and borders in ways previously thought impossible. In remote villages, teachers inspired students to think critically and creatively. In bustling cities, inventors tinkered with ideas that would one day change industries. Even in the smallest acts, planting a garden, creating art, building a machine, humans were demonstrating the quiet strength that the galaxy had never appreciated. Each action, though seemingly insignificant, was part of a larger pattern of growth and awakening. Some humans began to notice the coincidences, the unusual synchronicities that hinted at something bigger than themselves. A scientist tracking energy patterns saw that certain frequencies seemed to respond to human activity. A mathematician discovered formulas that suggested an unseen order in natural events. These individuals started to communicate, forming small networks of curious minds who shared observations, experiments, and theories. They were building a hidden web of understanding that no one outside their planet could yet see. Together, they were piecing together the proof that Earth was not just another world, but a planet with the potential to surprise the galaxy. Despite the excitement, humans faced skepticism and doubt from their own kind. Many dismissed these discoveries as coincidences, accidents, or mistakes. Some scientists were ridiculed for pursuing ideas that seemed impossible or far-fetched. Engineers faced bureaucratic obstacles when trying to test new machines. Teachers struggled to inspire students in communities that lacked resources or support. Yet the curious, the brave, and the persistent kept moving forward. Their dedication was a silent rebellion against doubt, and in that persistence, Earth's hidden potential grew stronger. The story of discovery was not just about technology or science. It was also about human spirit. Artists, writers, and thinkers began exploring themes of connection, potential, and the mysteries of the universe. Their work captured imagination, inspired innovation, and reminded humanity that curiosity and creativity were as important as physical inventions. Poems, stories, paintings, and music celebrated the beauty of human resilience and ingenuity. In subtle ways, these expressions were preparing humans for a larger role in the galaxy, even if no one yet realized it. Then came the first small but undeniable signs that Earth's awakening was catching the attention of the galaxy. Sensors on distant satellites operated by other civilizations recorded patterns of energy, light, and radio waves that didn't match anything previously seen. Observers from distant planets began to take brief notice, assuming there might be some hidden intelligence or innovation on the planet. At first, they dismissed it as unimportant, but curiosity lingered. Earth was starting to whisper to the galaxy, and the first ears were beginning to listen. The people of Earth, however, were focused inward. They weren't trying to impress anyone beyond their planet. They were simply exploring, learning, and building. A young engineer worked tirelessly to improve energy efficiency in her community. A doctor developed a new technique to treat illness in rural areas. A scientist solved problems that no one thought could be solved. Every small success brought pride and hope, even if it went unnoticed by the galaxy. These accomplishments reflected something deeper than science or technology: humanity's persistence, imagination, and moral strength. The galaxy could see only the signals, not the effort, struggle, and heart behind them. Through these discoveries, humans began to feel a subtle but growing sense of connection with the universe. It was as if Earth itself was speaking through its people, urging them to grow, to learn, and to prepare for something bigger. The small signs, the unusual readings, the inventions, the sudden breakthroughs, were markers of a potential that was still hidden but undeniable. Humans were beginning to sense their place in a larger story, though they didn't yet know what it would mean when the galaxy finally remembered them. By the end of this period, Earth was no longer quiet in the sense that it had been. Beneath the surface of ordinary life, a hidden awakening was underway. Humans were connecting ideas, experimenting with new technologies, and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The galaxy remained mostly unaware, but the first stirrings of recognition were appearing, and Earth was quietly preparing to step into a future that would surprise everyone. The planet's potential was no longer dormant. It was alive, growing, and waiting for the moment when humans would take their place among the stars. And so, Earth continued, quietly remarkable, full of people who acted not for recognition, but for the joy of discovery, the thrill of creation, and the belief that even the smallest actions could one day change everything. The galaxy might have ignored them, but the story of Earth's awakening had begun, and there was no turning back. The moment of recognition was approaching, and the humans who had nurtured this hidden potential were unknowingly preparing for a destiny far greater than anyone on their planet, or beyond, had ever imagined. For centuries, humans had lived on Earth quietly, building their lives, dreaming and exploring the world and stars in small, unnoticed ways. Then one day the galaxy finally began to take notice. The strange signals, innovations and subtle patterns that humans had been producing for decades were no longer invisible. Alien observers who had long assumed that Earth was insignificant started to pay attention. At first it was only curiosity, brief scans, distant measurements, cautious observation, but it was enough to set things in motion. The first real contact was tentative. A small exploratory ship from a distant civilization appeared at the edge of the solar system. It was designed for observation, not communication or conquest. The crew had been monitoring Earth's energy patterns and technological growth and were intrigued. They expected to see a primitive planet with simple inhabitants, barely capable of advanced thought. What they encountered, however, was startling. Humans were not only intelligent and curious, but they were inventive, resilient, and driven by moral purpose. The aliens had not expected these qualities, and it shook their assumptions. On Earth, the sudden appearance of the alien ship caused a mix of awe, fear, and excitement. Scientists and astronomers were the first to detect it, observing the strange vessel moving with precision and intelligence. News spread quickly, and while many were terrified, others were fascinated. The general population had always wondered if they were alone in the universe, and now, for the first time, they had undeniable proof that they were not. Governments, organizations, and communities struggled to respond, unsure whether the newcomers were friendly or hostile. Amid this uncertainty, a small group of humans stepped forward, scientists, diplomats, engineers, and leaders, who would become the bridge between humanity and the galaxy. These individuals were not chosen for political power or fame. They were chosen by circumstance, skill, and courage. They had studied the stars, understood technology, and most importantly, believed in humanity's potential. They began communicating with the alien observers using mathematical signals, universal patterns, and symbols that transcended language. It was slow and painstaking work, but every successful transmission revealed that humans were not just capable of understanding, they were capable of reasoning, creativity, and collaboration at a level that surprised even the most advanced civilizations. At first, communication was fragile. Misunderstandings occurred, as the aliens assumed certain human actions were aggressive or reckless, while humans misread the aliens' intentions as hostile. But over time, patience and persistence built trust. Humans demonstrated problem-solving skills, moral judgment, and cooperation in ways the galaxy had not anticipated. For example, when a natural disaster struck, humans worked together to protect both their communities and the alien observers' equipment, showing compassion and intelligence simultaneously. These actions made it clear that Earth was not just a primitive world. It was a society capable of responsibility, innovation, and empathy. One of the most important breakthroughs came from a young scientist who had spent her life studying energy patterns. She realized that the signals humans had been sending into space were not random. They reflected coordinated innovation and discovery. By sharing this with the aliens, she helped them see that Earth's civilization was evolving, not by force, but by curiosity, creativity, and collaboration. The aliens began to view humans with respect, recognizing that the planet's inhabitants possessed a unique combination of resilience, intelligence, and morality. The first contact also revealed cultural richness that the galaxy had never seen. Artists, musicians, and writers shared their work in ways the aliens could perceive, demonstrating the depth of human imagination and emotion. Stories of courage, love, and innovation resonated even across vast distances. The aliens began to understand that intelligence alone was not enough to earn a place in the galaxy. Empathy, creativity, and moral awareness were equally important. Humanity displayed all of these in abundance, challenging every assumption the galaxy had made about Earth and its people. Not everyone on Earth understood the significance of this moment. Many saw the aliens as a threat or an opportunity for political gain. Governments debated how to respond, fearing the consequences of miscommunication or exploitation. Ordinary people were excited but uncertain, unsure how to act or what to expect. Amid this chaos, the small group of humans working directly with the aliens remained focused on building understanding, patience, and trust. They knew that the way humans behaved now would define Earth's reputation in the galaxy for generations to come. Challenges were inevitable. Some alien factions doubted humanity's intentions, while some humans questioned whether they should trust beings so different from themselves. Missteps, misunderstandings, and fear threatened to derail the fragile connection. Yet every challenge became an opportunity for growth. Humans learned to communicate more clearly, act with integrity, and demonstrate their capacity for cooperation. The aliens, in turn, began to appreciate subtle forms of intelligence and morality that they had not considered important. In these interactions, both species were learning and evolving. A turning point came when a human team solved a complex problem that had stumped the alien observers for decades. Using ingenuity, collaboration, and ethical reasoning, they demonstrated that Earth's inhabitants were capable of thinking in ways no single civilization in the galaxy could predict. This breakthrough shifted the aliens' perception entirely. They realized that Earth had been underestimated, not because it lacked capability, but because its strengths were subtle, patient, and deeply human. Creativity, moral courage, and resilience were not immediately obvious from afar, but once revealed, they could not be ignored. For humans, this period of first contact was both thrilling and humbling. They saw their potential reflected in the eyes of the galaxy, and for the first time they understood that their efforts, small acts of invention, courage, and kindness, had prepared them for this moment. Humanity was no longer alone, unnoticed, or dismissed. They had earned the first flickers of recognition, not through force or domination, but through persistence, intelligence, and moral integrity. By the end of this phase, Earth had begun to establish a foothold in the galaxy. The planet was no longer invisible, and its people were no longer underestimated. The first contact was just the beginning, but it proved that humanity had the capacity to communicate, collaborate, and contribute on a cosmic scale. Humans had shown the galaxy that their creativity, resilience, and ethical reasoning were strengths that could not be measured in simple technology or raw power alone. And as Earth looked outward, the sense of possibility grew. Humans began to imagine not just exploration or survival, but participation, influence, and contribution on a galactic stage. They were aware of challenges ahead, yet they were ready. The galaxy had finally seen Earth, and it had begun to understand why this small, vibrant, and persistent civilization deserved its attention. The quiet, unnoticed strength of humanity had finally begun to speak loudly enough for the universe to listen. As humans began interacting with the galaxy, the realization of recognition brought excitement but also new challenges. Earth was no longer invisible, and its people were finally being noticed for their intelligence, creativity, and moral courage. However, being acknowledged came with responsibilities. The galaxy did not simply hand respect freely, it tested the planet's inhabitants, observing not just what they could do but how they would do it. Humanity had to prove that its strengths, resilience, collaboration, and ethical judgment could be trusted on a larger scale. The first challenge was internal. On Earth, not everyone agreed on how to respond to the attention. Some nations wanted to show power, believing dominance was the way to earn respect. Others sought alliances, hoping to gain protection or resources from advanced civilizations. Communities and leaders debated whether humans should move cautiously or boldly, whether to prioritize survival or moral principles. These discussions were sometimes heated, but they forced humans to consider not just what they wanted, but what they were capable of. The need for unity became clear. Earth could not afford disarray when the galaxy was watching. While humans grappled with their own disagreements, alien civilizations continued to observe and interact. Some were impressed by Earth's approach to problem-solving, education, and innovation. Others remained skeptical, concerned that humans might be reckless or short-sighted. The challenge for humanity was not just technical, but ethical, to show that intelligence without wisdom could not define a civilization. Humans had to demonstrate that they could balance creativity with responsibility, ambition with compassion, and innovation with integrity. Every action, small or large, sent a message to the galaxy about who humans truly were. During this time, key individuals emerged as leaders and guides. Scientists who had quietly built the foundation for Earth's recognition, now became diplomats and mediators, explaining human reasoning and values to alien observers. Engineers who had developed critical technologies now shared knowledge in ways that fostered trust rather than fear. Artists and writers contributed cultural insights, helping the galaxy understand the depth of human imagination, emotion, and empathy. These individuals became symbols of humanity's potential, showing that a civilization's worth was measured not just in power, but in character. At the same time, humans faced real tests from the galaxy. Unexpected conflicts arose when misunderstandings occurred. An alien technology malfunctioned in a human city, causing panic, or a human experiment accidentally interfered with a distant system. Each incident was a lesson in accountability, teaching humans how to navigate mistakes while maintaining trust and credibility. The people of Earth learned quickly that recognition was not guaranteed. It had to be earned, nurtured, and protected through careful thought, cooperation, and ethical action. One turning point came when a collaborative project between humans and alien civilizations required solving a complex problem that threatened multiple worlds. Humans had to work together internally, bridging cultural and political differences while simultaneously coordinating with the alien partners. It was a challenge of communication, strategy, and creativity. Success depended on the humans' ability to remain calm, inventive, and morally grounded. Their solution impressed the galaxy. Earth had shown that it could act not only with intelligence but with responsibility and foresight. This moment became a defining point in how the galaxy viewed humanity. Throughout these experiences, Earth's people also began to recognize their own growth. For the first time, humans truly saw their achievements reflected back at them through the eyes of others. It was not about pride or arrogance, but awareness. They understood that their perseverance, creativity, and ethical choices had tangible value in the wider universe. Communities celebrated technological milestones, scientific discoveries, and cultural achievements with a new sense of purpose, knowing that their efforts were meaningful beyond their own world. At the same time, humans did not lose their humility. They had seen enough of the galaxy to understand that intelligence alone could not ensure survival or respect. Empathy, moral judgment, and collaboration were equally important. Humans began to teach these principles to the younger generation, knowing that the future of Earth's recognition depended not just on technical skill, but on the ability to act wisely and ethically in complex situations. Schools, universities, and communities focused on critical thinking, problem-solving, and cooperation, preparing a new generation to represent Earth with confidence and integrity. As Earth gained recognition, the planet's achievements became more visible. Humans shared inventions that improved life across the galaxy, demonstrated cultural expressions that transcended species, and participated in interstellar collaborations. Every success reinforced the idea that Earth was more than just a small, overlooked planet. It was a civilization capable of contributing meaningfully to a larger community. The galaxy began to see humans not as insignificant observers, but as active participants, bringing unique strengths that no other civilization possessed. However, with recognition came responsibility on an even larger scale. Humans realized that their actions affected not only themselves but neighboring planets and civilizations. Decisions about technology, exploration, and diplomacy had consequences far beyond Earth. They had to balance ambition with caution, innovation with ethics, and progress with the potential for unintended harm. Each choice became a reflection of the values humans had cultivated over centuries of quiet perseverance. This period also highlighted the importance of unity and leadership. Leaders who acted with vision and integrity helped guide humanity through the complexities of interstellar interaction. They encouraged collaboration, fostered understanding between cultures, and promoted solutions that reflected human values. Their efforts showed that leadership was not about control or dominance, but about guiding a civilization to act responsibly, creatively, and compassionately. These lessons strengthened humanity's position and prepared Earth to assume a more significant role in the galaxy. By the end of this phase, Earth had transformed from an overlooked, underestimated world into a civilization whose presence commanded attention and respect. Humans had shown that their intelligence, creativity, and moral courage were not just potential. They were real, demonstrable, and influential. The galaxy no longer saw Earth as empty or irrelevant, Recognition had arrived, but it had come with a deeper lesson. Greatness was not only about being noticed, but about being worthy of attention through integrity, innovation, and ethical action. Humans now understood that Earth's journey was far from over. Recognition was not the endpoint. It was a step toward responsibility, influence, and leadership in a larger cosmic community. The planet's inhabitants had to remain vigilant, humble, and committed to their values, knowing that the galaxy would continue to watch, judge, and learn from them. Every decision, innovation, and act of kindness would shape Earth's reputation and its future in the universe. And so, Earth moved forward, confident yet cautious, proud yet humble. Its people had proven they could rise to challenges, demonstrate wisdom, and act with responsibility. Recognition had been earned through persistence, creativity, and ethical action, and the planet now stood ready for the next phase, fully aware that the galaxy had remembered it, and that this remembrance brought both opportunity and challenge. The lessons of unity, courage, and moral strength would guide humanity as it stepped ever closer to a permanent and respected place among the stars. After years of discovery, innovation, and proving themselves to the galaxy, humans finally reached a turning point. Earth was no longer a forgotten planet, overlooked and dismissed by distant civilizations. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, their creativity, intelligence, resilience, and moral courage, and recognition had been earned. But this moment was not just about being noticed. It was about earning a permanent place among the stars, a seat that reflected both Earth's achievements and its responsibility. The process of earning this place was not easy. Other civilizations still observed closely, testing humanity's decisions, problem-solving skills, and ethics. Every action had consequences beyond Earth, and humans had to show that they could navigate these responsibilities wisely. Small mistakes could have led to misunderstandings or distrust, but the people of Earth had learned to act with patience, foresight, and collaboration. They had grown into a civilization that not only sought recognition, but deserved it through careful, thoughtful action. Humans now acted as partners in interstellar projects. They shared technologies that improved energy efficiency, health systems, and communication across planets. They participated in collaborative missions that required solving problems beyond their planet's borders. Unlike other civilizations that relied solely on power or dominance, humans relied on creativity, innovation, and ethics. Their approach was unique. They combined intelligence with compassion, ambition with responsibility, and exploration with care. The galaxy began to see that Earth's contributions were valuable, not just for practical reasons, but because they reflected a civilization with character. One of the defining moments came when humans mediated a dispute between two alien civilizations. The conflict had the potential to escalate into widespread destruction, but humans, relying on their understanding of ethics, diplomacy, and communication, proposed a solution that satisfied both parties. This act demonstrated not only intelligence but moral courage, the ability to make decisions that balanced fairness, strategy, and long-term consequences. The galaxy took note. Humans were no longer just participants. They were problem solvers, leaders, and trusted allies. Culturally, Earth had also made a lasting impression. Art, literature, music, and storytelling revealed humanity's emotional depth and imagination. Alien observers who had long valued technological advancement began to appreciate the richness of human expression. They saw that intelligence was not limited to machines or calculations, but extended to creativity, empathy, and ethical reasoning. Humans had shown that a civilization could be both practical and soulful, capable of great inventions and great compassion. This combination set Earth apart in ways the galaxy had never seen before. Earth's people had also learned to work together as never before. Nations that had once competed over resources now collaborated to manage interstellar projects, share technology, and maintain diplomacy. Communities prioritized education, ethics, and innovation, preparing new generations to contribute responsibly to the galaxy. Humans understood that their reputation was not built by a few individuals alone, but by the collective actions of the planet's inhabitants. Every choice reflected on Earth as a whole, reinforcing the idea that their seat in the galaxy was earned through unity, integrity, and creativity. Despite all this progress, Humans remained humble. They knew that recognition was not permanent, and that the galaxy's respect had to be maintained through continued effort. They continued to explore, discover, and learn, understanding that the journey was ongoing. Recognition was not the end. It was a responsibility, a commitment to act wisely, ethically, and with vision. Earth had proven its worth, but humans knew that maintaining their place required vigilance, cooperation, and constant growth. A symbolic moment came when representatives from Earth were formally invited to join interstellar councils. These councils governed collaborative projects, interplanetary trade, and shared knowledge. Humans took their place not as conquerors but as equals, offering insights, solutions, and guidance based on their unique perspective. Their approach was measured, ethical, and innovative, earning trust and admiration. It was a moment of triumph, but also a reminder that respect in the galaxy was built on action, not words. Humanity's journey to this point had been shaped by countless acts of courage, curiosity, and kindness. From the early scientists who noticed strange patterns, to engineers who built solutions, to artists and thinkers who expressed the depth of human experience, every contribution had mattered. The galaxy had seen that these small, persistent actions added up to something extraordinary. Recognition had been earned not by force or intimidation, but through creativity, intelligence, resilience, and ethical action. Even as humans celebrated their new status, they remembered the lessons of the past. They knew that the galaxy was vast and complex, with civilizations that might act unpredictably. They had to remain vigilant, adaptable, and wise. The seat that Earth now held was not a reward for arrogance, but a responsibility to contribute meaningfully, protect life, and promote understanding. Humans embraced this responsibility with determination, knowing that their actions could shape the future not just of their planet, but of neighboring worlds as well. The final achievement was not a single event, but a culmination of years of growth. Earth's presence in the galaxy became permanent, respected, and influential. Humans were no longer ignored, dismissed, or underestimated. The empty seat that the galaxy had once assumed would always remain empty was now filled by a civilization that had earned it through persistence, creativity, and integrity. This accomplishment reflected the true strength of humanity, not in dominance but in the ability to grow, adapt, and act with wisdom and compassion. Humanity's story became an inspiration across the galaxy. Other civilizations observed Earth and learned from its example, seeing that intelligence paired with moral courage and creativity created lasting value. Humans had transformed from an overlooked species to a civilization whose influence and ideas shaped discussions, decisions, and collaborations on a cosmic scale. The galaxy had remembered why Earth mattered, and the planet's people had proven that they could rise to meet that significance with grace and skill. And so, Earth's journey reached a new chapter. The planet now had a seat among the stars, not granted lightly, but earned through action, patience, and ethical behavior. Humans understood that the journey was ongoing. That recognition brought both opportunity and responsibility. They had shown the galaxy their potential and, in doing so, had discovered a deeper understanding of themselves, their resilience, creativity, and moral strength. The story of Earth's seat in the galaxy was no longer about being noticed. It was about being worthy. Humans had proven that a civilization could combine intelligence, compassion, and creativity to make a lasting impact. Recognition was only the beginning of a new era, one in which Earth would continue to grow, contribute, and inspire. The galaxy had remembered, and humanity had fulfilled the promise of its potential, standing ready to shape a future among the stars with courage, wisdom, and heart.